if Giannis comes to the Warriors, they stay relevant past Steph. And right now, there are no guarantees of what the hell happens because right now, this is still all a pipe dream in the greater scheme of things.
Let's get into Giannis. Are we getting Giannis?
Yeah, what's going on with that, Nick?
There's hope. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
You don't sound very hopeful when you say it like that.
But guys, the last week of the up and down emotional roller coaster of this team has been completely insane because you lose Jimmy and you think, all right, that's a wrap. And that's still where I stand as we sit here right now as far as, again, title contention. But in the span of a week, basically, it's like, well, do they have a chance? Do they have a chance to get Giannis? And I think the answer is yes. And Mr. Shasky, this goes back to what we were talking about a week ago. You make that trade flatly. I mean, you make that trade if you can make it happen. Do I believe that Steph, Giannis, Draymond is enough to win one more time? Not in the Western Conference, but I'd also say it gives you hope. The Warriors lost hope when Jimmy got hurt. But all of a sudden now, especially in the wake of what's come out in the last 24 hours, it's kind of like, all right, well, they have the pieces. Are they going to go all the way in with everything they got to try and make this happen? As far as the potential suitors go, I absolutely think they have a puncher's chance.
Hypothetically, they land Giannis. Does Kerr sign an extension like the next day? on his own accord.
No, I actually take Steve Kerr at his word specific on this topic, Joe, because he has said repeatedly since the beginning of the season, I have a strong relationship with Joe and Mike. We'll sit down at the end of the year and we'll figure out what's best. So I don't believe that if they landed Giannis, Steve walks in and goes, okay, I'm here. I think they all want to see how it plays out. I think Steve wants to sit there and assess the roster, but I have always believed this, guys. He is loyal to Steph Curry. Steph wants him there. And on top of the fact that if Steve goes to Joe Lacob and says, all right, I want to re-up for a couple more years, that's like $20 million a year or whatever the number is. I mean, that is a ton of money to walk away from for Kerr, who has said repeatedly how much he still enjoys coming into work every day because of the standard that Steph and that group has set year after year after year. So I don't think it's that kind of domino, but obviously it would go a long way.
Who would be the player you would want to retain of all the other people not named Steph Curry that you have to come out of this deadline keeping on the Warriors in any trade scenarios that might be out there?
I don't think that guy exists to me, Joe. I don't think there's anybody on that roster where you go, we've got to keep X, Y, Z. I mean, the guy who actually fits the best right now is Melton. But yeah, I got crushed the other day because, and I still believe that, especially if you don't land Giannis, I would move Melton because Melton has a player option next year. It's going to take a ton to retain him. But if you're giving this thing a legit push, Melton fits. He knows how to play. He can play a bunch of different positions. He can get to the rim when he needs to. He's a solid defender. But if you're saying who is not part of any conversation, Joe, the only answer is Steph. Everybody else is part of it. And that's why to me, it's really going to boil down to just how much of the future are they willing to mortgage? Every single pick, every single swap. I mean, I'm not alone in thinking the best thing that could probably happen for the Warriors isn't so much that it goes down right now. If you get into the summer and the picks aren't all tied together and you can push together a bunch of different combinations, I think it actually helps them even more, on top of the fact that right now Giannis is hurt. And I think we'd all agree, even if they landed him in the next week, you're setting yourself up more for one more push again next year. You can build the team better over the summer and going into next season than you could giving away everything you have to get this guy right now.
You brought up the calf injury. How serious is that for this year? And how serious is that big picture long term for Giannis?
It would absolutely scare the hell out of me. It would scare the hell out of me. You got a guy who has a ton of miles, NBA-wise, on his joints, and he's been in it a long time, and he's about to be 32, and the calf injuries have started. It would scare me a ton. But it's still Giannis. The guy's still unbelievable. And, Joe, even if on the short side you're saying, all right, how many years does he have in his prime still? Because that's the question we always ask about Steph. I'd say at least probably 2 or 3 at a very high level. So you just hope that if he were to come, Rick Celebrini and that training staff can keep him aligned and feeling good. But on a broader level about the league, when you start seeing calf injuries, I mean, how many different times have we seen it even in the last couple of years? That's not a great sign, but it goes with the territory when you've been in the NBA this long.
Is there any possibility Jonathan Kuminga is still on the Warriors
my God.
the deadline?
You love the Kuminga question. Wait, who's more tired of the Kuminga questions, Nick Friedell or Steve Kerr? You guys are both just so done with this.
I have to ask.
You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask. Kuminga, the only reason we're talking about Jonathan Kuminga is Steph Curry. That's it. If Jonathan Kuminga played for the Charlotte Hornets or the Orlando Magic,
but he doesn't.
Nobody is talking about Jonathan Kuminga. We're talking about Kuminga because of Steph. Whether or not he ends up in this trade, who knows? And Spadell, the answer is Steve Kerr, but I'm 1A to Steve Kerr. There is no question about that. But Kuminga is a complete afterthought at this point. The next week is, will Giannis end up here or not? And I would only say that if it doesn't happen before the deadline, I don't think that's the end of all of it at all.
Okay.
I think this conversation will just linger until we get to July.
Oh, my God. Just cut my arms off at that point.
Sounds like content. That's what you're telling me, Nick. Let's go.
You've worked at ESPN for a long time. And obviously, I'm not saying ESPN is pushing for this to happen, but there are certain pairings that they're like, oh, yeah, we love that. LeBron in a Laker uniform. Now Luka in a Laker uniform. Like, they love that. From an ESPN, big brand, corporation, Peacock, all the different companies that are partnered with it, if they had it their way, would Giannis be paired with Steph, or would he go to New York or to Miami? Like, what would they prefer as television partners of the league, if you had to guess?
Well, I don't even think it's so much what ESPN would prefer, Joe. I would think, what would the league prefer the most?
Okay, then there you go.
And because what's good for the league is good for ESPN. I mean, the league is in a better place when you have stars who are relevant on teams who are good, or you have stars in big markets that make that team even more interesting to watch and amplify the coverage around them. To your question, if Giannis were to end up playing with Steph and being in the Bay for a few more years, I think that's a big home run for everybody. But if Giannis played at Madison Square Garden and was on the Knicks, I think that would be incredible too. I don't think there is so much a wrong answer. What scares me is somebody who makes their living covering the NBA. The second Giannis leaves Milwaukee, that team is completely irrelevant. Nobody cares. And that's not a problem for people out in the Bay. They're Warriors fans. They want to see Steph get one more run. Good for them. I mean, from a league standpoint, the second any deal goes down and Giannis leaves Milwaukee, he is synonymous with that city and that region, and he has brought them to prominence and delivered a title. That is bad for the league. So you can help the ratings and get everybody excited about the Knicks or the Warriors or whatever, but you basically lose a team. And this is what happened in that aftermath of LeBron leaving the second time in Cleveland and then going to LA. People just didn't care about the Cavs for a few years. Yes, they're better, and they had a nice little run with Donovan Mitchell, but you lose a small market star to go to a bigger name team. Ugh, yikes. It's another team that people are going to care about day to day.
Yeah, but and we're talking Nick Friedell here, Odyssey NBA insider, covers the Warriors for The Athletic here on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. I mean, but this is a star-driven league, right? So, like, they would prefer, you know, the Lakers, Warriors, Knicks, Miami Heat to be more relevant than, you know, the Cavs and Milwaukee.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
They're not going to say that, but, like, they would be... Adam Silver would be doing jumping jacks if Giannis and Steph were paired together here 100%. In San Francisco.
Spadone, the league is better as far as money and ratings and all that stuff when the bigger brands stay relevant. It's why, having spent so much time in Chicago, the NBA would love if the Bulls were relevant again, but the Bulls are run poorly and nobody cares, and that is not good. But the Warriors are run well, and they do have this chance. So if he were to end up with Steph, that's great for the NBA. If he ends up in New York, that's great for the NBA. But there are so many different factors in play here, and that's why I'm just as interested as everybody else to see what happens. But I can promise you this. If he does land in the Bay and he signs that extension, you open up another window of 4 or 5 years. And that's what's fascinating to me as we filter through all the different layers of what could or could not happen. If Giannis comes to the Warriors, they stay relevant past Steph. And right now, there are no guarantees of what the hell happens because right now, this is still all a pipe dream in the greater scheme of things.